Okay, so hi everyone. This video is going to go hand in hand with my other video because obviously when the interview allocations are coming out, there's two ways that it can go. So this one is for those of you that didn't quite get an interview this time round. So firstly, I'm really sorry that it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go this time. I know it is really disappointing. So this video is not meant to be like, oh, just put it behind you, move on, it's absolutely fine. No, take a bit of time to just be a bit grumpy about it, and then hopefully some of these tips might help you if you're thinking about reapplying next year as well. So I've been on both sides of the interview situation. I didn't get one in my first year, and then in my second year I did. So hopefully this will give some insight into how I kind of changed or just developed what I had done on the previous year. So firstly, I think it's important to say that it's not, how do I word this? It's not no right now, it's not no completely, it's just not at this point in time. And you have done the best with what you had up until this point, but that doesn't mean that over the next year you're not going to be able to get loads more evidence that you can use, like experience, things that you can talk about, and it's just about making the best with what you have. So I knew the first time that I applied, I didn't think I was going to get a place, if I'm honest. I just thought it would be good practice for the next year, because I did the best with what the experience that I had and what I had done, but I didn't think it was going to be enough to quite push me over into the interview scores, and it didn't. So I should have become like Mystic Meg or something. Sorry, I'm really thirsty. But I kind of thought I'd split this video up into kind of 3 bits again. Kind of one on specialism-specific. I'll try to make it specific to every specialism, but the things that you can do to improve that side of things. A bit on general things that you could do to improve kind of the more soft skills, fluffy bit, which I think was the part that I found hardest about the interview, about the application process. And then just a little bit on mindset, because if you're anything like me, I take rejection quite hard. So even though I wasn't expecting to get onto it first time, it was still a little bit of a kick in the teeth, I think, especially when you've put in so much time and so much effort into applying. It can feel like a little bit of a setback, I suppose. So specialism specific wise, one thing that I would really recommend is trying to just find any kind of way to show that you are interested in your specialism. And it sounds really silly, but they want you to show that you have gone out of your way to learn more things about what you're wanting to study. So I had to join some of them, but I also joined in my masters some seminars and things in genetics, so I spoke about those, finding new technologies that are coming out and how they might benefit patients. Each lab or each place that you'll be working at, all of the possible centres will have something that they're interested in. So just kind of go around and look and see what the new developments are. Something that I feel like I've gone to quite a lot of seminars or webinars, I guess, at the moment, is R14 exome sequencing in genetics. I think it's been going since 2019, but it's still pretty new and pretty interesting. So just little things like that, try to find the new developments and what's coming up and what could be being used in the future, because you can talk about that and you may not have been able to show that you've, I think one of the bullet points in our application was how have you shown innovation? And although you might be able to show that for a different job outside of science, at least you could say, I've been able to kind of horizon scan and look for new technologies that are coming out that might be able to benefit patients and kind of show off what you've done. if you're still at uni, or if you're like me and you were going back to uni if you didn't get on the SCP, could you kind of, what's the word, tailor your project or any presentations that you have to give to have a more kind of clinical aspect to them? You might be allocated your project, but could you find the bits that are like healthcare related? And if you can't, then can you do it in essays? Can you do it in presentations? Can you try to show that you have spoken to people and try to teach them about something that you're interested in, basically? And then I suppose as well, something that's always said, some people manage to get loads, and I don't know how, because I didn't manage to get, like, I had a few placements, but some people did loads of work experience. But if you do manage to get any work experience, that's obviously really, really valuable. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be within an NHS lab. It could just be within a lab within your specialism, or I'm thinking of lab specialisms here, or like something linked to your specialism. That would also be really good. And work experience, it doesn't have to be ages, it could literally just be a week. And try to just get in touch with people. Like, the answer's always going to be no if you've not asked anyone. But if, like, there's no harm in asking. And often if you find someone who's really interested in education and training, so maybe like a training lead, or if you could get in touch with someone to ask if they know anyone that could set you up for like a week's worth of work experience, that would still be really, really useful, because you can show that like you've been into the kind of environment you'd be working in, and you understand how important it is that quality is maintained and blah blah blah. Even if you're just shadowing, you're able to see all of the normal quality control steps that go into everyday life and things. So I think trying to find work experience, as hard as it is, would be so useful. I didn't, but as I said, I had a couple of placements with Sheffield, the genetics lab inside Sheffield Children's Hospital, and I spoke about them a lot in my application, and I do think, and I also spoke about them in my interview as well, and it definitely helped me. So yeah, any which way you can, beg, borrow or steal some time. If you know someone, like, get in touch with trainees in your specialism in your area and they might be able to help you. But make sure that if you're going into do work experience, you never know that the people that you're working alongside, they might be people that you interview with. So make sure that you make a really good impression. Like, don't turn up late, don't turn up like just not interested, because they'll remember that. And equally, if you turn up and you're really engaged and really interested and want to learn, they're also going to remember that as well. So try to just show yourself off in the best way if you do get that work experience. Job-wise, I know not everyone's able to volunteer due to like financial reasons and stuff, so if you can get a job that would help to you'd be able to like be paid obviously as well as getting that experience. You may not be able to get it in your specific field itself, but just like a healthcare assistant or something like that. Let me have a think. Like genetic technologist job would be amazing. You'd get to see all of the lab side of things. You'd be able to handle like patient samples. Again, I know it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially at the moment, but just trying to get any experience you can of working in a clinical field, I think would be super useful. Especially if you're going into a lab specialism, even have a look at things where you'd have patient experience or patient interaction. You wouldn't get that necessarily in your job, but you'd be able to show that you've worked with patients, you understand the importance of making sure that every sample is treated with care and with dignity and things. So just have a little think and have a little look around. guess that would go into the general side as well. Sorry, my watch going off again. Of how you could try to improve your application. But you'd have to, obviously, like the specialism specific thing would be amazing, but if you can't get that, then you can pull out bits from a job to help with the general side of things, and that doesn't even have to be like a clinical based job. I used quite a lot of examples from my tutoring one, just because it showed that you were able to communicate well and that you could work in a team and that you understood the importance of confidentiality, and just trying to find any links, write them down. I had a little list in the back of my diary of just things that I'd done over the year, not years, that I might be able to use in my application, just so that I didn't forget them. But try to keep track of what you're doing, and it'll just show that you're interested, and it'll show that you've really spent time and thought about what you're writing as well. Not that you've not spent time on it this year, I know so much effort goes into the applications, but you're in a bit of like a better playing field than you were before, because obviously these applications were a little bit different, but now you've been through it once, so you know kind of what they're looking for, and as long as they don't change the goalposts again, hopefully you'll be in a better position starting next year round if you're going to apply again. Again, you've got the NHS Constitution. This goes for like everyone, whether you've applied or not. So with all of those examples, try to make sure that you're showing specifically where you've shown them. So like communication, find specific examples of when your communication has like benefited something and made a difference. And if you're writing them down across the year, by the time you get to the January, February time, it's just so much easier, and you can just pile it all together. Public engagement and outreach is a super important part of the job that I've not been able to do lots of as of yet because of COVID. But this side of it, I guess, is still public engagement and outreach, a little bit. But anywhere that you can show that, and that's something that can be easier to get experience with. So I know there are different like public outreach organisations. So I think there's one for children called The Big Bang. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. It's like a science fair, like getting kids interested and engaged with STEM. So that would be a really good one to do. My uni had a similar thing where you'd go into schools or organise like outreach things within the community as well. It didn't have to just be in schools, and that would be really good because you're showing again that you're interested and that you want people to understand more about specialism, that you want to like inspire other people to learn more about it, but also that you can communicate and plan and organise your time well and things like that. Cool. There's another thing as well, I just remembered, what's it called? Health Watch, I think. And it's a public, what do they call them? It's like a community-based thing that can feed back to the NHS services in their areas about like what's working, what's not working, what needs improvement. And they basically, like, it's all volunteers, and they let services like know where maybe things need improving or what is going well. So that would be a really interesting one to be a part of, because you're kind of seeing it from both sides then, like you're seeing the patient's perspective of how they're being treated and how, if there's any like kind of discrepancies in how well the service think they're doing and how well the patients feel like they're doing as well. So yeah, have a little look into those, and I think there's probably loads of resources that I've not mentioned, but I'm sure with a quick like Google search you could find ones that were in your area that you'd be able to join. You don't even have to do it like a lot. You could just do a couple of hours a week or a couple of hours every fortnight. Same with the webinars. Like I think we had to do one with uni once every 2 weeks or once a month, I think. Or was it every week? I don't think it was every week. I didn't go to every week's. But if you could just like schedule in a webinar like once every fortnight, they're usually only an hour long, loads of them are free, and it just shows that you're genuinely interested in what you're doing to set aside like time. Me and Nicole have sat and watched webinars with like a cup of tea and a pudding, and it's just like, we'd only be watching recall anyway, so might as well learn something. Yeah, I tried to do, that was the other thing, I wrote some notes, they're really messy, just so that I don't forget anything. If you can, try to do any extra learning on the soft skills side of it. They're called soft skills, but I actually think they can be quite hard to learn and develop. Everyone can communicate well, but there's different aspects to that I hadn't considered like in more detail. Like maybe if you're wanting to go into a patient facing specialism, you're going to be seeing patients that might be from like all different walks of life, and some of them may be hard of hearing, so maybe just learning like basic British sign language, so like hello, my name is, to show that you're wanting to be inclusive and deliver like a good level of care to everyone, or being able to communicate well across different cultures and thinking, because there's some like non-verbal communication cues that can be disrespectful in some cultures that I might use in a day-to-day setting. So just being aware of those and showing that you've wanted to learn more about it and wanted to kind of just expand your own skills, basically. Cool. Future Learn is really good for that. There's loads of courses on Future Learn. I'm doing a few at the moment to try and I'm in my counselling rotation at the moment, so I'm trying to get better at communicating. So I think that's everything for general. Just take as many opportunities as you can to beef up your application, basically, because you are really good. You wouldn't be applying to it if you weren't hardworking and stuff, but they just have so many applications that you want to make yours like stand out from the crowd. So do something that other people may not have done. Cool, so the last one is that I just wanted to touch on was mindset, just because I know that I hate rejection and there might be other people, people that are just like water off the duck's back. I am over it, like moved on, but it's never nice, I don't think. So things that helped me kind of frame my mindset in a better way for the next year was remembering that I was in the majority. So the first year that I applied, they were still doing the interviews in Birmingham, like the big station interviews, and I was in the majority of people because the majority of people didn't get an interview. They only did, they took 3 times as many people for the number of posts that there were. So I was like, right, okay, it's not just me. If they'd have hired everyone but like me, okay, I'd have been a bit gutted. And yeah, it's not a no completely, it's just a no this time round. Come back and like show us what you've been able to like grow on, because you're not just going up against you're going up against kind of your cohort. So 1 year I might not have got an interview like this year, say, because I like that this year's going to be competitive, so don't put yourself down for not getting an interview. There's all of the people that didn't apply last year, or maybe that dropped out because of reasons due to COVID, and then they're only interviewing for the number of places that they've got, so try not to feel too disheartened, because yeah, it is going to be competitive, and you've done really well to jump through all the hurdles that they've thrown at you, especially with the new structure and everything. It was all a little bit higgledy-piggledy, I guess. Try to use what you have now to better your application next year. So you've been through it once, you know what the kind of structure is to it, you know how the situational judgment tests are going to go, and you know the questions, most importantly, for the application. And they're not the most, like, you could have probably drafted out an answer before knowing the questions this year, but you can now spend the year kind of reflecting on what you wrote and how you could improve that for the next time round. I don't know if they're going to do it the same as they did with us, but we got scores that ranked us basically. I think they were out of 60 the first time that I applied, 60 being the highest and 0 being the lowest. And I can't remember what I got. I think I got like 40 or 41. But it kind of made me think, okay, so I've got good foundations. I need to get more evidence. Like, what I've written is good. It's the best that I could have done with what I had. I just need to get more evidence to show this and find different things that I can pull in to make it more interesting, to kind of beef up my score. If I'd have got a lower, like a score on the lower end of the spectrum, then I may have thought about going kind of back to the drawing board and writing down all of my experience, what I learned from it, and what kind of skills I could pull from it, and then trying to rewrite it a little bit. And remembering that you do get points for how you communicate your information as well. So yeah, I think those are my main tips for just like trying to reframe your mind. Try, if you really want to go for it, try not to be too proud. Like, if you decided that you don't want to do it and it's not for you and it's not right for you at this point in time, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to try it again, just put this behind you and try to make yourself even better next time around and show them what you'd missed. I had a lot of fun in that year, so just try to kind of take what you've learned from it and learn a little bit more over the year, but don't put yourself down too much. So hopefully that has helped people. But yeah, if you have any specific questions, I will try to get back to you, but there's quite a lot of stuff on at the moment, so it might take me a few days or so. Yeah, thank you for watching. Alright, bye bye.